Hello and welcome back. Right, I've been gathering some feedback regarding CVs, resumes, if you prefer, and one of the questions that I asked was based around a very simple scenario. So you can catch this on Twitter, my Facebook, or Instagram. LinkedIn was temperamental, but I'll get it posted there as well. And not forgetting YouTube, there'll be some instructional videos on YouTube soon as well. Now, the question was suddenly you need to submit your CV, your resume. And it suddenly occurs to you that, oh, you don't know where to find it. Or if you do, it's so out of date, it's going to take a fair bit of work. And then it further occurs to you that it's probably not very well formatted. You're not even sure if it's going to sort of be done the right way. So in essence, suddenly there's a big headache. And one person replied and said, well, I wouldn't know where to start. So here's a little, I don't know, sort of an example, I forget what it's called now, but an analogy, if you like, that I was told about prioritization, because it especially applies here. If you've got a huge jar and you've got to fit large stones, small pebbles and sand into it, ideally you put the big stones in first, then the small pebbles and then the sand, because the smaller pebbles go around the stones and the sand is so fine it then just filters around all the rest. It's basically saying get the big important things done first. So that's one way to approach the CV. The other way is to realize that people learn in different ways, and good teachers recognize this. So some people are visual, others prefer to get their information by hearing it, audible. Some like to read and write the thing down, then read it again. Somehow it goes in that way. And others are kinesthetic. They have to physically do it, like when you're learning a sport. You actually have to pick up the racket and practice the strokes, not just watch someone do it, for example. So back to the CV. Two ways, there's many ways, but two fundamental ways. The first is to organize the structure. So you can sketch out or type out just headings and roughly where stuff will go. Then you start putting in the simple stuff, name, email, LinkedIn account, whatever. And then maybe you do your education, because in theory that's not creative, it just is what it is. And gradually you work towards the tougher bits, the achievements. Others would say, well, all the little stuff is easy, but if I don't get my achievements right, then the CV's worth pretty much nothing. And actually they're right. A CV without achievements, I don't care what you were responsible for. I want to know what you achieved. So a CV without achievements, it's not going to cut it. So someone will sit down and say, right, I've done a fair bit. I know that my recent history is most relevant to the jobs I'm going for still. So I'm going to pick the last, 10 years. It's an example. It'll vary. I'm going to pick the last 10 years. Let's list the jobs and the company, title. Short line on your responsibilities, but the title should really, if you're a sales director, you're a sales director, and whether it's an SME or multinational, scale and P&L will vary, but really there should be very similar elements. Okay, in a multinational, teams will be larger, they'll be cross-border, there'll be other ramifications. True. But to keep this simple for this example, it's pretty much of a muchness, and the key words will be the same. They'll just refer to a different scale of revenues, different scale of cost of sales, etc., etc. So that's where I would start. I would actually list the period that is most relevant to what I'm going for. I will jot down the achievements. And then once I've got the achievements down, for your most recent position, you want at least 3 achievements. Have another 3 if you can in reserve, not on paper. The paper is a little teasing selling document to get you in front of someone. Because they might say, okay, you've done this, and that's good. Anything else? And I take my word, it looks a whole lot better. You say, oh yes, absolutely. Yeah. For example, boom, boom, boom. And you rattle off another 3. Oh, great. In fact, that's 3 more achievements, big plus points for you, that will then generate talking points. Ideally, you don't want them to get through your first 3 achievements on paper. You want them to be asking you about that and realise suddenly the conversation, they've extended the conversation and they're running out of a bit of time. And so they press on with achievements from the previous role, given that it's all suitably relevant, yeah? So that's what you're aiming for, really. Watch out for another video, because what I'll tell you now is this. From jotting down your achievements to, if you caught one of my other videos, you'll realise turning each achievement into a bullet point that is no more than 2 lines long. And in many cases, just 1 line long. So it's short, it's punchy, it stands out. Not as easy as it sounds. Not unless you're going to go down to 4-point font size, which no one can read, just to squeeze everything on. It means that you're going to have to really use your whole knowledge of, in this case, the English language, whatever language you're using, to properly describe the importance and value of your achievement. Okay, so I'm going to run another video right after this one, really drilling into achievements and how to bridge the gap between what you actually achieved and how it appears on paper. It's not as straightforward. This often can be the second most time-consuming thing that you're going to do when putting together your CV. So, hope you've enjoyed that. Hope it's been of some use. And there was another one. Look out for my quick vlog now on references. Someone said, oh, I'm not quite sure what I do about references. There are a lot of things you can talk about with references, but I'll pick up on a point which I think it pays to be aware of. So thanks for joining me. Hope you found that useful, and I'll see you in the next one.